thank you again, everyone. Today my presentation will only take about like 15-20 minutes. For the rest of the time, I would love to hear your questions and let's have a discussion. I would love to share my journey and also my learning through the process of the career development. So I understand that we have a very diverse audience today. So before I start to introduce communications and public relations, just in case you're not really interested, but I want to assure you that even though you are not that much interested in this industry, I still think that you can have some takeaways from today's presentation because I believe that everyone should adopt the mindset as a communications professional, not just in your professional career development, but also your personal life. And I'll explain why. And the second thing I hope you can take away is that career exploration can be uncertain, but it also can be a joyful and fruitful experience of your life. So without further ado, let's get started. So about myself, currently I'm leading a public relations function in my company. I basically built my company's PR function from the ground up. And I started my career in communications industry in agency, basically an advisory firm, not in-house position. The difference is that for the agency, you serve a lot of clients and you provide consulting and services for those different companies. And during that experience, I basically serve technology company, healthcare, and also like different other industries. But in my current role, the in-house position, I only serve my employer, which is one industry. So that's the difference. And my education is in global communication. That's under the School of International Affairs. So I had a master under international affairs, and that the niche is the track is called global communications. And my undergrad was in journalism and mass communications. So I basically have journalism background and also international affairs background. And those two majors are not super technical and practical in a sense. So I can totally associate it with those people who don't know what you want to do, because when I had my degree, I felt that was one of the hardest time in my life, because I didn't really know how to use my degree to find a job, or I'm not sure exactly what I need to do. Compared with some of my friends who had like computer science major or engineering, they know exactly what they want to do, and they know what exactly the companies they want to go. So at that time, I feel very, very lost, and I can totally relate to some of you who probably don't know where to start and what you can do with your learning, and what's the next step. So we can talk about that later.
Excuse me, Eva.
Yes.
Which company are you working for now?
Oh, yeah. So my company's name is Press Reader, which is one of the largest digital publishing company in the world. Its headquarters is in Vancouver, Canada, but we also have offices in Europe and Asia, and we also have a lot of businesses in the US. So it's a global company. We help those publishers, big and small, international, national, local, to digitalize their content and to interact with their audience. Basically, the goal is to increase their monetization opportunities, and also to help publishers interact with end users. So we create a lot of solutions, business models for those publishers, so that. Yeah, so that we use technology to connect very high quality content with users. So yeah,
so
it's a very
including like some of the marketing effort, like
yes.
Oh, okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. So my faith is really a game changer in my life. So I grew up in I didn't grow up in a Christian home as many of you. My family are very loving, but I knew God when I was at the age of 19. So that was in my college year. So and it really changed a lot of basically every aspect of my life, and changed my whole worldview and perspectives on things. And profession, career is just one of them. So I mean, the Lord has led me through a lot of adventures in the past decade, and I just feel very thankful that a lot of adventures that was unexpected, but it was very, very fun and joyful. So I would love to share more later on. So what is corporate communications and public relations? There are a lot of misunderstanding about what a PR can do. So corporate communications and public relations, sometimes they are used interchangeably. And can you hear me? I just
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So sometimes people have a misunderstanding, thinking like PR is just to manipulate how public opinions will react to certain things. But that's not true. At least that's bad. That's not good PR, and that's not the best practice of a PR professional should do. So what is PR or corporate communications? It's really about maintaining mutually beneficial relationships between companies and their stakeholders, both internal and external stakeholders. So when we were talking about stakeholders, we mean those people or those organizations that are very crucial for the company's operations. For example, companies' customers. That's the most direct stakeholder. And investors. For those startups, I believe some of you probably thinking about entrepreneurship and thinking about having your own business. And investors are very crucial stakeholders for you. And board of directors, many companies have board of directors, and analysts. So especially for those public companies, analysts, their views about your company operation and the future of the industry can have a great impact on your even the share price. So and employees, of course, for all companies, those are very important stakeholders. Regulators. Those are like government or some international organizations. Business partners, who do you want to work with to conduct business, associations and NGOs, competitors, they are also stakeholders in this ecosystem, and media. So when we think about the operation of a company, it is not operating in a vacuum. It is really interacting every day with all those stakeholders. And corporate communications is really to ensure that we send the right messages and the consistent messages to each stakeholder, and in the best way. So the way how you present your messages sometimes is equally important as what your messages are. So this is the overview of the corporate communications, but the key is stakeholder engagement. And I hope that this introduction can make you realize that business is something not just you are working in silo, you are working in this fabric of different entities in the society. And whatever you do, you have an impact.
Hey, Eva.
Yes.
For interesting question.
Yes.
Can you give us a real example, the same case for good communication and the bad communication, and what the consequence of the good communication and the bad communication? Just one simple example.
Yes, of course. So I will share one bad example 2 slides after, and then I will share why it's bad, and then how to correct it, and what's
awesome. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any question, please let me know, okay? So this sounds very vague, maybe for some of you, but I think this can really apply to our own personal life and professional life. Think about yourself. So each one of us is not living in a vacuum, and we are interacting with different people in our life and our work at our work. So think about who are your key stakeholders as a person. Maybe I can give you some examples. Maybe it's your family members, either your spouse, your parents, your kids in the future, or your neighborhood. So the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. Do you interact with your neighborhood? Without interacting with them, do you find any inconvenience or any surprises when you start to interact with your neighbors, right? And of course, friends, peers, right? I think at the age, as a high schooler, middle schooler, you probably spend most of time with your friends and classmates. Those are very key stakeholders. And your colleagues, your boss at a workplace are your key stakeholders. Then your teachers, so those people around you. Have you ever thought about how to maintain a positive relationship with those stakeholders so that your life can be easier, or you can achieve the goal together with a group of with your team? Do you see them as your partners or as some troublemakers? If those are troublemakers that make your life feel miserable, or what happened? Should we use our problem solving skills to really smooth those relationship and make things work? So those are the things I feel like we can apply to even our personal and professional life using those corporate communications mindset. So why corporate communications or PR is very important? The reason is that it really impacts many aspects, even all aspects of a company's operation. For example, brand awareness and reputation. If we don't have a good relationship with our customers, they probably wouldn't want to, they wouldn't recognize us, or they don't want to buy things from us. Then that will also impact our sales and revenue. And if we don't communicate with the employees effectively, then employees probably will not buy in the mission or vision and our next step from the management. So the management cannot really lead the whole company well. That will influence the employee morale, the team morale, the productivity. If one department hears a message from the management, but the other department heard another thing, then that really also creates the conflicts and how those two departments can work together. So it's a very real issue. Give you a bad example. For example, if the management has different visions of the company, of the next step, then different departments and functions can really work together. And they probably will not work together and do not communicate. So it really will affect every level of the company. And innovation, why? Because if you think you want to be an innovative company, you have to communicate this message to all your employees and encourage them to do it. So without communication, how do you want to instill this concept in every employee's minds, and that will in fact impact their work, everyday work? And business evaluation. Without proper communications with investors and the financial market, the market probably don't really know you. And how can the investors think you are solving a real life problem and your company has a value there? And how come they want to invest in you? So there are many more. Communication, I should say, is the key, and many people undervalue communications as a key to success of a company, to success of a professional's career life.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment here. I think the constant communication from top down, especially the communication group, represent the executives there. So that actually constant communication is education for all employees. Give you example like diversity. Okay, and then if it's the communication not there, and people don't pay attention to diversity, and can cause a lot of problems. Okay, same thing about like security, safety, ethics. All this is a very important part of the communication. So if you don't know how to communicate, or you don't do it consistently, the group can be in trouble, or they don't have the harmony, or they don't have cooperation, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Very
so
important.
communication is a very important part of leadership, and also basically that will impact every aspect of the company. But many companies didn't realize that. And my observation is that some companies, they will develop their PR or communications function until they realize, okay, if we don't do it, it's going to create some problem. And so that's something we can discuss the next slide. So if it goes wrong, let's think about it. Let's go to a very extreme case. So think about if you don't communicate well and you communicate too late, what will happen? Give you examples of AAA. So in 2015, 60 cases of food poisoning associated with AAA that were reported in 14 different states in the US. Think about it. Think about the number of the cases and number of the states. And the result is it resulted in a massive drop in stock price of the company and its sales. It was estimated to be in the tens of millions. That's a big loss for a company, and it's a failure. So why? So report shows that, of course, AAA later on did something, like they responded to Facebook messages, Twitter messages, and they sent out announcements and PR release, but it didn't really work that well. Why? The reason is AAA withheld information for several months before they really start to tackle the problem. So when one case came up, probably they ignored it. 10 cases, 20 cases, 30 cases. Maybe they ignored it all the way until 59 cases. And so for communications, it's really associated with how you respond to crisis. And crisis management is a big part of corporate communications. So for any in-house role, basically the person who's in charge of the PR role in the company, we don't like to see this kind of thing. But when I was working in the agency, the consulting side, we somehow like about this kind of situations because that makes your role easier and so and that brings business and everything. So when I was working agency, I was very excited about all this crisis management, issue management kind of projects. And 99% of time, the issue or crisis become super large and unstoppable is because that people delayed in responding, and people want to cover facts, and people don't want to apologize in a timely way, and people don't want to change and don't want to face their mistakes and failures. So AAA, this case is a very classic example. On the other hand, what is a good communication during the crisis? So we have golden 70 hour. Basically, in the first 24 hours, what you need to do. For the first 48 hours, what do you need to do? And for the first 72 hours, what do you need to do? And within a week, hopefully, we can basically resolve the issue properly. And basically for PR or crisis management is not just to cover the facts, or is not to whitewash the wrongdoings. It's to be honest. Is to be honest about what you have done wrong as a company, and to face the facts and have the attitude to want to fix it and to improve and to basically avoid this kind of mistakes from happening next time. So if you think about this kind of mindset, this can really apply to your own life. So that comes to the next slide. So think about your own personal and professional life. For example, between you and your parents, when something happens, when something wrong happens between you and your parents, what is your first response? Do you just see your parents as your adversary, or you want to see this as an opportunity for better communication? Of course, this question also goes to parents. When you see something goes wrong between you and your children, what's your response? Is it to blame? Is it to complain, or is it to possibly to have a constructive dialogue to examine what's the root of the problem and try to tackle it? And another scenario in our personal life is our relationship with our boss. If your boss says something about like he is not, or he or she is not satisfied with your performance, what's your reaction? Do you say, "Hey, no, it's David's mistake, and he ruined the whole project"? You blame other people, or you say, "Hey, no, because I was sick," and you find all good excuses for yourself. Well, what's your reaction to your boss evaluation or comments on your performance? So those are all the things we can think about. Those are probably the issues or crises in your life. How would you manage those issues and crises or relationships that went wrong? How do you correct it?
Oh, this is awesome point. I need to make some comment. Say of course, communication is extremely important, all right. But however, I think we often run into the situation on the same issue, and to opposite side look at the same issue with different perspective. That's really hard, all right, because you have your value system, they have their value system. Now, of course, your boss has the authority and the power. Sometimes you must listen, okay, but maybe you're not happy. But with your colleague, you have different perspective, different personality, different background, and you have a conflict. What do you do? In my 40 plus years professional career, the most important verses for me is, "Blessed are the peacemaker who can be called God's chosen." So make peace is always the most important thing God wants us to do. And then how do you make peace? Sometimes you have the wisdom, sometimes you don't have the wisdom. But pray to God, okay? Pray to God. Then God will give you the wisdom to make peace. So if you want to make peace, peace will happen. But if you decide to have a conflict, some people, the personality, love conflict, okay? It's just, I think they're designed to be that way. But you just have to control yourself. Think about, always make peace, because it's God's command. And then I think your whole life will be benefit so much by this instruction. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Ming, for sharing. I didn't even think of it from this aspect. When you resolving a crisis for a company, you are making peace between helping the company making peace with society, and also those different stakeholders, right? So what happened to AAA? I forgot to mention. So the AAA finally made peace with those stakeholders and the society. What happened was that the CEO stepped out and take the full responsibility, apologize, and also the whole company started this upgrade of safety and health policy and procedures. Basically, they implement those very high standard safety measures that is higher than the industry level and average, and in order to avoid this kind of food poisoning incidents. So those are really great, because it really make changes and help the AAA to gradually recover from the distrust from the customers.
Sure. And I think another important thing is making the peace. The most important thing for everyone is, again, that's what the Bible teaches, right? Be humble, because say the destruction always comes, okay, after the arrogance, okay.
Yeah.
So when you're arrogant, you think so confident in yourself, you never make mistake, then all you create is a chaotic environment for people to start fighting each other. But if you're humble, maybe even you're right, but you humble yourself, the way you communicate, that's a communication now. The way you communicate, say, hey, I'm willing to listen to you. And then suddenly people start softening down, and then we can talk. Gradually, they can accept you later. But however, if you start be arrogant and say, you guys don't know nothing, I know what I'm doing. Okay, then the whole chaos is coming. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the comment. And in addition to arrogance, actually fear is also a very big factor.
Yeah.
I also observe some clients or companies, they are very fearful about sharing what exactly is wrong until it is too late. And people lose trust. So as a communication advisor in a crisis management case, we sometimes have to encourage or push the clients to really tell the truth and really to help them to find the root cause of the problem. And then we can have the information to know how to fix it and how to rebuild the trust and help the company to not just survive from the crisis, but really thrive from this crisis. Because crisis can be opportunity, like AAA. If without this crisis, they wouldn't find this safety, something wrong with their safety or procedures. Otherwise, they couldn't upgrade their whole system. So what's my day-to-day? So a lot of like theories. And my day-to-day currently as a senior manager of the public relations, I basically I built the PR function from the ground up, and I'm still continuing to build on it. And my responsibility is to really develop a corporate communication strategy and key messages, my corporate story according to my business, my company's business goals. So, so I have a lot of discussions with the management and leaders of different business units, basically to understand their consensus and really to achieve, to build the company's narrative and the stories. I engage with key stakeholders, for example, media. I talk to reporters about who we are and what we do and how we make a difference in this world. And this is a very fun process and I enjoy so much. I also work cross-functionally with internal stakeholders, the sales team, business units, finance team, of course, marketing team. That's what I'm working with all the time. And also the management team, even IT sometimes. So communications, it's a very it's a hub. It's a hub to communicate, and you communicate with different functions. And this is also what makes my role super exciting. And also,
Eva,
yes.
I have a question. Well, this is really amazing job there. And then, however, I do believe it takes a lot of wisdom, background, and good personality, good experience, and a different kind of expertise. So, what is the requirement to be a good communication manager? And what's the requirement to be in this field?
Yes.
What kind of background do you have to have?
Yes, this is the
You're right there.
Yes, I'm going to talk about. So of course, as a PR person or corporate communication professional, you really want to be passionate and you are interested in communicating with people. So if you are someone who is very interested in people, like I am, then I think this is a job that you probably can consider. So people usually say, are you interested in people or numbers, right? So even though I'm interested in numbers, but I'm more interested in people. So if you like communicating and you want to have a lot of connections with people, then this job probably is for you. So the first skill set, of course, communications. You have empathy and you understand and you want to communicate, then the top skill you need to have. The second is actually research and critical thinking. It's it's a really process of building these skills. Well, the reason I'm talking about this is that at a very early stage of my career, almost 70% of my day, my days at work is to do media monitoring. So I hated media monitoring, but I also benefited a lot doing media monitoring. That means if a company A is my client, I will monitor every reporter who is talking about this company, and every article that is talking about this company, and every analyst report and their analysis about this company. So I need to understand who is talking about my client and how they talk about it, and I analyze it. I will write up a executive summary for my client to read every day, so that they understand what are people out there talking about this company that will impact their reputation and their company operation, things like that. And I also do policy monitoring, which means if my company A client is operating in the Asian market, then those government policy that is related to this industry is what's the trend, and is there a new policy coming out that will impact my clients? So I have to monitor policy as well. So basically, I will become the expert of this industry and for my client, so that when they have any requirement or needs, I can respond saying, hey, this is a good action to take because so and so. And oh, it's risky because the policy comes out saying so and so. So I want to develop to be an expert of this field.
A lot of reading, a lot of research.
A lot.
Wow, that's very interesting.
I have to say that I read even more than when I was in college and graduate school every day, because it's a really everyday thing. But
so it's an effort. It's an effort you put it in. You love your background. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very much like I think one of the previous speakers at a youth camp is from the investment bank, right? And I think they also need to read a lot of information from their portfolio companies, right? So very similar, because we are doing consulting and services. So this kind of third-party consulting firm, we need to understand our clients and our clients' industry. And there are a lot of research and reading, learning. And
so this, I think, the interesting point for all the youth to know. Reading is very important. Good habit of reading with all kind of material, increase your knowledge, business, finance, investment, politics, everything is really helpful.
Sometimes we probably, when we were in high school or middle school, we think politics and those financial news are so far away from us, which is true when we were at that age. But if you can start to explore a little bit why people care about politics, and especially it's have a very direct impact in the business world. How think about the global change, think about climate change, why those government officials will get together and have all those conversations that will impact on companies' reporting system, actually. So nowadays, European countries, they require their companies to report how they help with carbon emission, right? Basically, something that is so far away from us right now, you can start to try to understand what is happening and how it affects the business and also your personal life. It is an ongoing process, though, so don't push yourself. Just start to explore. And after all this research and learning, you will gain industry knowledge and business acumen, and you will understand how business is wired in your client's company or in this whole industry. And that is a very, I should say that's a very joyful process, because you finally see your growth, and you start to basically the learning and growth experience is a very fun process.
Excellent.
Yeah. And writing. So how you write in a business way, how you write succinctly, in a very straightforward way, and you know what is important, what is less important, because most of the time our writing go to clients or the management. They don't really have time, and if you write an academic paper that lasts for 20 pages, nobody would read it. So you have to train yourself to think clearly. What I mean is that you basically take away all the unnecessary information, and you prioritize the most important conclusion for those people, and you train yourself to write in a very succinct, straightforward, and clean way.
So at this moment, can you define the critical thinking? Can you define this word? Because I heard a lot, how do you define the critical thinking? Or
Yes.
give us some example.
So one example. So if for example, a company A, my client, operating in let's say Asian market, and now it's we have to analyze the market reaction, the government policies, and those key opinion leaders, how they think about this company and how they think about this industry. And there are a lot of information. So information from different sides. Some people who support our client, some people will say, hey, some negative thing about client. So information comes from all different stakeholders. And then when we collect all this information, we have to do an analysis, basically to see, hey, those are the trends, and which trends will impact your business in our market, and why those are important. So this is the a process of collecting information. And when you collect all the information, you analyze it, and you prioritize it, and you get rid of unnecessary information, only leave the most important ones. And then you recommend your clients saying, let's take action 1, 2, 3. Basically, the critical thinking is, I feel like it's not just taking whatever information as it is, but you have your own system to develop a theory, your own observations, and you give recommendations. And this is exactly what a lot of positions need. And especially when you grow and climb up the corporate ladder, if you want to be a leader, then you really need this kind of critical thinking and thoughts.
Excellent. So I think maybe I can add a comment. Basically, to be very result oriented and condense all the information just for what really matters. If it doesn't matter, don't say it. Like all the CEO, all the high-level manager, they don't have time to listen to it. So you really have to condense and be result-oriented and understand what really matters. And that's why it takes a lot of background to really become a very good communication person. Yeah.
I feel it also can apply to your own personal life as a middle school.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, you hear information from different people, like from me, from my parents, from your school teachers, and from newspapers, from anywhere, from the internet. And how do you analyze all this information? Do you just take it as it is? Do you? But how? What are the most beneficial information for you? And how will you use those information to apply to your own life? That's critical thinking. Because I have a journalism background. So when I was trained as a journalist, even though I'm not doing any reporting right now, but I feel critical thinking is one of the key skills I learned through my journalism school. So basically, for any journalist, you have to when you interview your sources, your interviewee to get information, you have to make a judgment if this source is credible. If it's a credible sources, why there are contradiction from different sources, and then you present it, how you present it. News, we strive, so as a reporter, you should strive to be objective, but you still select facts, and you select the orders of the facts, how you present it, how you present the first paragraph. and the second, and whose quote you put in the last paragraph, right? So those are the whole process of critical thinking for a reporter.
Very good.
Yeah, so it can apply to your life, to your career. And yeah, this is what I think about critical thinking.
This remind me of the one important word y'all can remember called the elevator speech. Okay, so you're riding the elevator with somebody trying to impress, but you only have a 20-second. So how can you just say something in 20 seconds and he like you very much, like your boss or whoever? Okay, that's called the elevator speech. So whoever can get prepared to give an elevator speech is very important training. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the most challenging thing to do, because how you write succinctly rather than writing a academic paper, those
right.
are very different training. And I believe for high schoolers, and even when you go to college, you probably will write very eloquently. You are trained to write long papers. But still, like when you go to work, probably it's a different training. Like you have to condense what you write and to put the most important and juicy part and a conclusion. Learn to write as an advisor. What's your conclusion? What's your recommendation for your
Good. Basically, to find the right way to sell yourself, sell your wisdom, sell your knowledge. All right. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah, of course. News sense is very important. So when you read a news, different people have different takeaways. I'm very thankful for my journalism training, and this is really in my blood. But I see some people from different majors. They also enter this PR communications industry after several years of training at work. They also know, oh, okay, what is newsworthy and what is not. Curiosity about learning new things, because in this industry, what is so exciting is that every day you do different things. Especially if you work in an agency and a consulting firm, your clients are different and their issues facing every day are different. And even for in-house job, like where I am, I also interact with different colleagues every day, and I basically have to implement different kinds of projects every day. So you have to be curious enough to learn different things, different functions, different aspects of the business in order to succeed in this kind of role. And finally, I think this is the most important characteristic, that is honesty. Bad PR, give you an example, that's to tell lie. They want to use lie to cover things. That's really bad PR, because that doesn't last long. In this world created by our holy God, there are fundamental principle that cannot be changed, which is you cannot cover something that is sinful and wrong for a very long time. You can cover for a time, but ultimately it will reveal. So honesty is very important. How you tell your story, your client's story, and help your clients to tell an honest story. That's something we have to do as a PR professional. Finally, it's critical to be a lifelong learner, always learning and improving at this role, because this is really the key for your success as in any job, I think, in any job. So you cannot just stop learning. Hey, I have already done this and I know what's PR. No, the technology is evolving, the environment, political, economical and financial environment are evolving. You have to catch up with what's going on, and always learn to improve your approach. For example, I'm not a native speaker, English speaker, so the most immediate need for me to improve every day is for my language, my writing skills, my speaking, so everything. So I need to improve. So that's the mindset.
How about one comment is always remember, there's nothing God cannot do for us except lie. Okay, lies from Satan. So God cannot help you cover your lie. But everything else, as long as you're honest all the trouble, God can help you to solve it, except lie. Okay, because lie is from Satan.
And the observation from my past experience is that if you cover a lie, you for a while, the crisis will explode to an even bigger scale, and that's not worth it. And at that time, I just realized, yes, the world is created by God, and there are some fundamental principles that can apply to business, to PR industry, to a company's operation. That's really wisdom from God.
Awesome.
Yeah. So specifically, what's my career path? I don't think my career path is a very straightforward kind of linear process. It takes a lot of trying and exploring. I was first trained as a reporter. So I interned when I was in school. I did a lot of interns with the journalists as a journalist. So I reported social, political, energy related news in both China and the US. And through the whole exploration of journalism, I realized that I really want to get involved in all those things, because as a reporter, you cannot get involved into any incidents or companies that much, because you want to stay objective. But when I was reporting, I had this urge to get involved and make some changes and express my view in certain way. So I feel like maybe I can further explore something else. So I also interned with a think tank and some NGO, because those organizations also needs writing and researching those kind of skills. But at the same time, they can make some changes and they can do certain things. So I interned with them, and I really benefited from the experience. And I also interned as a public opinion researcher, because it is also relevant, but it's in the academic environment. I work with my professors to do analysis, things like that. But ultimately, I found communications advisory. That was also through I think a campus hiring, kind of like a job affair, internship affair at my school. I found, there are some kind of PR and communications industry I've never encountered with. Maybe I should try. So I applied, and of course I applied many other things. But God will give you and open doors for you, right? In this process, you just try and you cast the net, and then God will decide which fish you will catch. So that one communications advisory firm came back to me and saying we are very interested. So I went to had an interview with them without knowing really what exactly this is. But this whole experience was very fruitful. And I found I'm really interested in this industry. It brings so much business knowledge, financial knowledge to me. And then at that time, I had a decision in my heart saying, like, I really want to get into this industry. So internship, I would encourage you to do as many as possible. And you just get whatever resources, information you have at hand, and just try. And through the process, you will learn, okay, and your heart will click and say, hey, this is my thing, and you will find it. So that's how I find my passion. And then after that experience, internship experience, I knew I want to enter this industry. So actually, I entered I was hired by the internship company, but I moved to Beijing, to China, and I worked for this company for 4 years and a half. It was a very fruitful journey. I got promoted almost every year, and it also boosted my confidence about my skill sets. And I can really tell that, and God has taught me so much about how to be a professional and how to be a better person through workplace. It's a lot of learning and hard work, because a lot of long hours. I passed the 10,000 hour
That's
working
good.
actually within 4 years.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
10,000-hour rule. That's very important.
that's
Well, I
right.
think let me make a comment for those youths, right? You don't understand what the 10,000 hour rule. Okay, so if you put your effort on one specific thing, specific field, after 10,000 hours, you become the best in the world on that field.
Yeah,
That's
you
very important. I mean, hard work, focus. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess I became an expert through that past that 4
Sure.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and later on, it was a family decision to move to Canada, and currently I work for a tech company as in-house role, and it excites me again because I've never worked in an in-house role. I always in a third-party consulting firm. So that new experience is also I believe it's also from God for me to explore. Because I applied so many jobs when I first moved to a completely new market that is Canada. And I didn't really have a lot of a network, personal connection. And it was also the time when I realized I'm just this little human being and I don't have a lot of power to or connections to leverage. But I trust God will help me, will provide for me, provide for my family through my job. And he also has a heart to grow me professionally and personally. So it is this trust that encouraged me to continue to try. I didn't find my current job like at the very beginning. I tried 2 or 3 other different jobs, and then I got this one, and I found sometimes you don't get your dream job at one try. You have to try several times, but you don't want to give up. And as a Christian, it's really our advantage. God is always with us, and He care about us. So
Amen.
I also do some independent communications advisory for some startups. Some are from my friends, and some are from the connection I got through the past 10 years of work. So I just want to explore more about my profession and to improve in all through all the possibility. And I'm also taking some lessons right now together with some of my colleagues from the marketing team, because I also want to learn more about marketing, especially product marketing that is very related to PR, but not really exactly the same. So I just want to keep on learning about this industry and beyond.
All right. Awesome.
So
Okay. So I'm sorry. I think we're almost up on this time now. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you can probably wrap it up in a few minutes.
Yes. So I know how you feel. Some of you maybe uncertain and anxious, but I want to share my 2 most important learning. One is God really care about you.
Amen.
God care about every tiny thing you are doing and every thought in your heart. He doesn't want you to waste your life or your time in some unmeaningful jobs. He wants you to find the one he wants you to get in to grow professionally and spiritually. So, and the second is that job is very important. And I believe many of you attending the session today, it's very, I think job is very important. I have no doubt, but don't idolize work. Because when you idolize your work, your life can be miserable. And think about you are really working for your creator. Whatever you do, work at it wholeheartedly as though you are doing it for the Lord and not merely for people. Because this is a truth that will set you free. If you think your boss will decide your payment, your promotion, and your life, you are setting yourself in the wrong track. But if you put your hope in God, knowing He loves you, He'll train you, and sometimes He will discipline you. He will not make your life easy, but He will make your life fruitful. And knowing God as a Christian, you have all the advantage in career exploration, because you can have this courage, you can have this hope that nobody else have. You can face failure, because you know this is temporary. God will help you, and He will make you strong from all the failures. Even you are fired, even though you don't get your dream job, you know that it is not the end of the world. So I want to encourage all of you, as middle schooler, high schooler, you are at a very golden stage of starting this career exploration, because most of the people, they start like me, start after my master's or my undergrad. So you are on the right track, and if you use career exploration as a way to know God, you will benefit even more. So that's everything I want to share with you.
Awesome. Wow, awesome. I think this is a awesome ending for our youth camp for 2022. This is just great. Yeah. This is just great because it's such a good perspective for all the youth to understand. Well, remember the definition of success I give everybody: fully utilize talent, the resource God give to you, manifest God's glory, and make this world a better place for God's kingdom. Remember this definition based on Bible. And I think the Eva just has summed it up for you. Okay, you have to work hard and you have to try to do the best for God's glory. It's not for anybody else, not for anything else, just for God's glory.